All right, welcome everybody to the TAPP interest meeting. Thank you again for coming out to find out more information about the TAPP program here in Clayton County Public Schools. So I wanted to introduce you to our TAPP intake team. We've got a group of people who are dedicated to giving you information about the TAPP program. So of course, our executive director, our TAPP director is Dr. Gloria Duncan. Our director of teacher development is Dr. Wakia Brown. Our professional learning coordinating supervisors are Ms. Melissa Iddens, and Dr. Avery Kenley. Ms. Iddens is on the call right now, and so is Dr. Brown. And the TAPP intake specialist team consists of myself, Dr. Sean Antonetti, Mr. Naji El-Tayeb, who is on the call as well, and Mr. Daniel Lee, who is getting ready to teach a class. And a person whose name you will become very familiar with over your time getting into the TAPP program is Ms. Teresa Brown. She's the TAPP administrative assistant, and she collects all documents. She gives you information. She's just an all-around superstar. So we all welcome you in, and let's go ahead and get started. So Clayton County Public Schools TAPP. What we are looking for with the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program is we want dynamic people who are charismatic, who can light up a classroom, with their personality. What we will do is we will help you become the best teacher you can. You don't need to come in to our program with any teaching experience. We just want you to come in and share yourselves with our students, and we will help you get to be that proficient teacher that we know lives inside of you. So as you are here with us today, I want you to think about a couple of different things. So while you're thinking, think about, is TAPP for you? And you've got a couple different bullet points on the screen that you can consider. So a ideal TAPP candidate comes from a accredited college or university. So you must have, of course, at least a bachelor's degree to come into our program. If you want to teach a specific content area like math, science, social studies, you need to have strong content knowledge in those areas. So it doesn't mean that you have to have teaching experience or have gone to school to become a teacher. It just means that you need to have college coursework to support you coming into our program in those areas. We want, again, someone charismatic who can come in, take charge of that classroom immediately. And it goes without saying that all TAPP candidates must be highly committed. And of course, we are here for our students, and we want to see our students succeed. So if you hit those bullet points, you are an ideal TAPP candidate. And again, thank you for coming out. A couple of other things for you to think about as you consider the Clayton County Public Schools TAPP program. All right, so our program is going to lead to teaching certification, and that certification is going to be good throughout the United States. So it's the same certification that you would get if you went through a traditional program like a college or university. TAPP's a non-traditional program, so it's on-the-job training. So you'll be in the classroom during the day, working with your students, honing your craft, your instruction. Then you'll come to our professional learning center and get some more training from our staff on how to teach effectively. And it's a 2-year program, but it is heavily supported. So you have support on the district level. So you have a person like myself or Mr. El-Tayeb or Mr. Lee who will come to your classroom, observe you, give you feedback, model teach for you, help you with resources. Anything that we can do, we're going to help you. Then we also get a school-based mentor who has gone through a training program, a 150-hour training program to become coaches in school. So they will work with teachers on the school level, those day in and day out things, and they will help you out. And then of course you have an administrator who will help you along the way over the 2 years that you're in the program to get you to where you need to be. Now, a couple things that TAPP is not. Now, you will get a teaching certificate, but you will not receive another degree. So you won't get a master's in teaching, but you will have that teaching certification that if you did go through a master's program, it's the same certification. If you've held a teaching certificate other than a waiver certificate or a provisional certificate, then the TAPP pathway is not for you, okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. It's not easy. All right, so this program is rigorous. I came through this program a while back. Mr. El-Tayeb came through this program as well. And we can attest that it takes a lot to go through. Education is not easy, and it's on the job training. So you got to think about that. You have to have that mental fortitude to get through that program. But when you do come out the other side, you are better off for it. And it, as I said again, it's not going to replace a regular college teacher education program. In my view, our program is better than those traditional programs because you learn things at night and you implement them the next day with your students. So that on-the-job training is a boon for our program. Let's talk a little bit about some of the commitments for our program. So remember, TAPP is a 2-year program. To apply to the program, you must take and pass a GACE assessment, a content assessment in the content area that you wish to enter the program in. Now, again, I say wish to with a caveat. You must have college credit on your transcripts if you want to teach in a specific content area. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. We do have a pre-TAPP essentials, kind of a boot camp before you come into the classroom. And in that 2-week boot camp, we teach you everything you need to know to walk into that classroom on the day one with confidence. That training is in the summer, and it is not paid, but again, it is something that must be done before you go into your classroom. Now, you have probably researched other TAPP programs, and you probably know that we are the most cost-effective program in the state of Georgia because we do not ask for any money. Our program is essentially free. Now, we're going to pour in resources, we're going to pour in education, we're going to pour into you. And when you're done with those 2 years in the program, we want you to stick around and we want you to teach our kids with all the things that you've learned through the program. So the only thing that we ask of you is that after those 2 years, you stay an additional 3 years and you give back to the county that created the perfect teacher that you will be when you come out the other side. Now, if you do have to leave, we know life happens, you may have to move, something may happen within those 3 years. That's perfectly fine. We just ask that you reimburse us $1,000 for each year that you do not complete. But again, if you've done your research, you know that TAPP programs in the state of Georgia can be $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. We're only asking you to pay back a couple $1,000s if you have to leave. Of course, we don't want to see you go. We want you to stay for those 5 years. Now, a couple more commitments we're thinking of when we're focusing on time commitments. I already mentioned that you will be taking courses, professional development courses at night. So those courses, you have to factor those in. They usually go from 5 to 8 o'clock at night. So you think about those things. Like I mentioned before, our TAPP Essentials class, our boot camp is mandatory. And again, it's a 2-week training. Part of it is virtual, part of it is in person. And you have to complete that Essentials class before you come into the classroom. And I'm going to say it about 10 times during tonight's session. TAPP is a 2-year program. So we have devised our coursework and everything that we're going to give you so you can complete the program in 2 years. All right, so I spoke about coursework, those PD courses. Here are the 10 core general courses that you will take once you come into the TAPP program. And all of these courses are designed to help you in different facets of your growth and becoming a proficient teacher. So you can see that we cover classroom management. We cover how you can effectively assess your students. We talk about different learning strategies. We want you to be culturally responsive in your classroom so you're able to work with all the different types of students in your classroom and mine that richness that their cultures have. And so we're going to do all of those things for you. It's 10 classes over the course of 2 years. Not a bad deal. All right. And our courses on the bottom, it says are conducted in the evenings and during the summer. So some of our courses you can take during the summer. Now you see some of the classes have red underneath them. That's number 7 and number 8. It says all but EE-TAPP. EE-TAPP just means elementary education. So I mentioned earlier that we want you to have college coursework if you want to teach in a specific content area. Now, if you don't have college coursework, that's perfectly fine. We have 2 pathways that you can enter that do not require any specific college coursework. That's elementary education and special education. And we're going to look at those courses now. So I'm going to go back just real quick. So we have our general courses that you will take. And now if you plan to come into our program in elementary education, there's going to be some additional classes on top of that, because we've got to teach you how to teach our elementary kids. And we know that elementary teachers teach all content areas. So we are going to prepare you with courses in content process and strategies in those different content areas. You see math, health and PE, social studies, science. And we also will have some reading courses for you, because you know that by the time students leave your classroom in education, they need to be competent readers, being able to read critically and be able to critically think. So we've got courses in reading as well. Now, these courses may change in the future, but we still will have courses that focus on teaching our students how to read. Now, if you decide to come in the special education pathway, we've got additional classes there as well, because again, we've got to teach you how to work with our exceptional children. So you can see on the screen that you have 6 additional courses that will help you to assess your students, your exceptional students, and to work most effectively with your exceptional students. And again, these courses are taught by experts in elementary education and special education. So we know what we're talking about when you come to our classes. So this is a sample schedule for a person who is coming into TAPP in the general pathway. That means you're not taking the additional elementary courses, those additional special education courses. You're coming in a specific content field like math, English language arts, science. You can expect about 2 nights a week that you will be at our professional learning center to take those professional learning courses. All right. So you can see this mock schedule on Tuesday and Wednesday. This candidate on Tuesday has assessment for learning, and you see it's 5 blended sessions. So our courses are a mixture of online and in person. We know that some classes do very, very well being face-to-face, and some we can have virtual, but we really want to make sure that we give you options when you are taking our coursework. And then on Wednesday, you have a course on how to teach our exceptional children. All right. Now, if you decide to come in an elementary education pathway, you know that you've got to take some additional courses. So you may have an additional class during the week. Again, I said that we try to have our classes not take up all the days of the week. We try to space them out so you are not overwhelmed. So again, some classes, some weeks you may have 3, some you may have 2, some you may have none. It just depends on your pathway, and it depends on how many classes you want to take at a time. And you can see those classes on the screen. All right, so with those different commitments, our program also has some additional commitments and requirements. We want you to make sure that you are doing a great job in your classes and that you are completing all of your coursework in a satisfactory manner. To continue in the TAPP program, you've got to maintain employment at the school that you are at for those 2 years. And very important, we want you to not take on any extracurricular activities. That could be extracurricular teaching, coaching, clubs, what have you, because our program is rigorous. We need you to focus on becoming the best teacher you can. So we ask while you're in TAPP that you do not take on anything else that could interfere with your learning. So the application process, you are hitting number 1 right now, which is attending a TAPP interest meeting. So you're finding out how to apply to our program. So in a minute, we're going to put in the chat a link to a TAPP interest form. And what you do with that is you fill out the information in that form, and you're going to submit your unofficial undergraduate transcripts. And what we will do, our team will look at what you have chosen, and we will send you what is called a GACE recommendation form. That recommendation form is going to give you the code numbers to the tests that you must take to apply to the program. And let's see if we can put that in the chat. It should be in there right now. Okay, so you've got two links. We put the interest form, and then we also put the application checklist. So make sure you click on those and have those open in another window so you can complete those once we are done tonight. All right, so this is a screenshot of the interest form. Again, that link is in the chat box. On this form, you'll put in all your information. You'll tell us what schools you went to. You'll also be able to choose up to 2 different areas that you wish to teach in. Now, as I said, you're going to have college coursework for certain content areas. So if you have a degree in, let's say, journalism, you could probably teach English language arts. All right. Now, you would not be able to teach math with a journalism degree. So when you're choosing areas, please make sure you're choosing areas that will align close to the degree that you have. When you send the information in, our team will look at what you chose, we'll look at your transcripts, and we'll see if you have enough credit hours, and then we'll communicate with you which tests you will need to take. All right. Just a couple things there. If you are trying to come into our program in a CTAE field, so that's our career and technical agriculture education field, please make sure on the form that you specify which area that you want to go into. So if that's aviation or law and public safety, make sure you tell us that on the form. So I've been mentioning that you need to have college credit for certain content areas. If you would like to teach on just the middle school level in a specific content field, like middle school math, on your transcripts, you would need to have a minimum of 15 semester hours or 15 college credits. And we'll look at all of your transcripts. If you have a master's degree, along with your bachelor's degree, we'll look at that as well, and we'll see if you have those classes to so for you can teach this particular content field. Now, if you want to teach on the high school level, you'll need 21 semester hours or college credits to teach on that level. So again, the math is a little more advanced there, the science is more advanced, the English language arts is a little more complex. So we need you to have more coursework in those areas. So again, remember, we don't teach you the content, we teach you how to teach it effectively. And we do prefer upper level coursework. Now, again, at the bottom, it does say that these college credits, these semester hours, they do not apply to our special education and elementary education pathways, because we will teach you all the content for those 2 areas. But everywhere else, you will come in with that knowledge. So as you are applying for the program, once you get that GACE recommendation, you're going to need to go and take those GACE assessments. So you'll need to register for a MyPSC account to register for that GACE assessment. It's very important that you create this account because you can also upload your college transcripts, your official college transcripts, things along those lines, to your account. And if you submit them to the PSC, we can pull them, and those will constitute an official transcript. So please write down the email address on the screen. It's mypsc, that's mypsc at gapsc.org, O-R-G, okay? And you'll go there and you'll set up an account, and then you can register for that GACE assessment once you get that recommendation from us. All right, so here's a couple more steps for application process. So once you take that GACE assessment, then you've made your MyPSC account, you are going to submit a resume. You're also, of course, going to submit those passing GACE content assessment scores. And then you'll also submit a GACE Educator Ethics Exam completion certificate. The Education Ethics Exam is a computer module-based assessment. So that's one that you can take at home, and you would submit that completion certificate. Official transcripts of all the colleges and universities attended. And then, of course, as I said before, please, if you do have electronic transcripts, you can go ahead and submit them to your MyPSC account, because we can pull them and they're considered official once they are there. Now, once you have submitted your application, You must notify our TAPP administrative assistant, Ms. Teresa Brown. I did say that you're going to get to know her very well. You need to let her know that you have completed your application, and then she will pull your application, and then we will move you on to the next steps. All right. I will put a link to the application, the TAPP application, in the chat box in a quick minute, but give me 1 second and I'll put it in there. All right. And just going to go back real quick, make sure you've written down to Ms. Brown's email. It's teresa.brown2@clayton.k12.ga.us. Again, that's important for you to have. All right. So let's look at the application timeline overall and see what happens after you submit that application. So starting on the left-hand side, we've already said you're doing your first step. You're at the interest meeting. You're going to submit that interest form with your transcript. Our team is going to give you a GACE recommendation, and that is going to outline the tests that you need to take to apply for the program. Once you take and pass those tests, you're going to submit that application packet by one of our deadlines. We have a May and a December deadline. I do see a question in the chat that asks about, does TAPP cover GACE exam as well? No, the GACE exams, you would have to pay for the GACE exams. Now, we will provide the training for you as to become that teacher, but you will have to pay for those tests yourself. After Ms. Brown gets your application, once you send her that email, she'll pull the application. We're going to invite you to a TAPP program interview. And you'll interview with our team, and we will have you do a couple of different exercises. And then once you pass that interview, we will send your name out to principals in the district. TAPP teachers are highly prized because they come with a ton of support. And like I said before, they come out the other end as sterling examples of teachers. Now, some of you I know are on a waiver or provisional certificate, and you may already be in schools. That's perfectly fine. You'll want to have that conversation with your principal to see if they would want to keep you on in the position that you are in the TAPP program. And that would be for you to talk to them about. We do not get teaching positions for you. You will have to interview for them if you do not already have one. So as I said, you have to complete our TAPP Essentials after you have your position. And then after TAPP Essentials, you go directly into new teacher orientation. And then you start your teaching career. You start that pre-planning process, and then you start day one as a teacher of record in your classroom. All right, so I mentioned those deadlines. If you would like to come into our program in the winter, so January of 2024, then you will need to submit your application no later than December 4th. We will need to get that information in, interview you, and then move you on to those next steps. So December 4th is the deadline if you would like to come in our winter intake, our January 2024 intake. And excuse that typo there, for our August intake, if you want to come in and start the school year off at the beginning of the school year, you would need to have your application in no later than June 17th. And we ask you to get that in there because we do go on a week break. And when we come back from our week break, you start that TAPP Essentials. So we want to make sure we have you in the system and ready to learn. All right, GACE assessment. This is a screenshot of the GACE website. So remember, you have to take and pass all GACE assessments that are recommended to you. Now you want to go into these tests prepared. So on the GACE website, they do have some test prep materials that you can purchase for a small fee. They have a study companion, interactive practice tests, which will help you get familiar with the format of the tests. You can also purchase test prep books from Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million. They are out there for you. Now, again, all these tests must be passed before you are having a complete application packet. So let's say that you wanted to come into our program in elementary education. On the GACE website, you will find a list of GACE testing windows. It's very important that you pay attention to when the test that we recommend for you is being given, being administered. So they have testing windows in which when they administer those tests. It's important that you pay attention to the testing window and you schedule your test for the appropriate testing window. Because if you see on the right-hand side, it says score reporting dates. Now, these are the dates from the 22-23 school year. There is one more test administration for the elementary education test in this month of August, and that score report would come back September 1st. So they do have a new schedule up, and that link is on our TAPP website. So you can look there for those new testing windows, but make sure you pay attention that the score reporting date comes before an application is due. All right, so as we wrap up, everyone's going to have to take that educator ethics assessment. You'll have to take those GACE content assessments that our team will recommend for you. Remember that the TAPP program does not pay for those assessments. So you really want to study well before you take those assessments because you don't want to have to take them multiple times. You're going to complete that TAPP application, and once you get that in, then we're going to move you on to that next phase of the interview, and then we will move you into that next step of looking for a job, or if you're already in a school, staying in that position. So for any remaining questions, Ms. Brown's email is on the screen again. Make sure you write that down. She's also provided you her cell phone number. So it's 404-308-4457. Office hours, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So again, she will take calls within that time frame, and she's very good about getting back to you. If you email her or if you leave a message, she will get back to you and provide you any information that you need about the program. Now, we have come to the end of our presentation. So as I said before, you will have some time to come off mute and ask questions. We're going to give you about 5 minutes for that. The time is 4:28 now. So at 4:33, we will conclude the question and answer portion. So if you have any questions, please, and they haven't been answered in the chat, please feel free to come off mute and ask those questions.